Well, hello and welcome to our weekly gathering at Vita Spiritual Learning Center. I'm delighted to be with you here today. So I'll get right to our theme for the year, which is Living Everyday Wonder. I'm wondering if you are living everyday wonder. And our theme for the month of March is play or fun. And is there a fun in healing? Is there a fun of healing? So throughout March, you get to explore the role of laughter, of play, of fun, of games, just to notice how that really enhances, reveals more health and well-being. So March is about the metaphysics of fun and games. And along with the themes, there are books. So for those who embrace the study and reading as a spiritual practice, here are the books that correspond to these CSL themes. For the entire year of 2022, we're using Ordinary Wonder by Charlotte Joko Beck. And for the month of March, we're using the book Happy for No Reason by Marcy Shimoff. Now the topic for this week is a little interesting. Cue Miss Andrews. We've all heard the song "A Spoonful of Sugar Helps the Medicine Go Down" from Mary Poppins, right? So my Science of Mind version of that is "A spoonful of humor helps the healing abound." A spoonful of humor helps the healing abound. And there's data that really shows that a spoonful of humor is medicinal. It's actually medicine because humor enhances, it shifts your body chemistry, and it enhances healing, and it really helps grow your consciousness. There was a segment in Reader's Digest that was called "Laughter is the Best Medicine." There is even laughter in the Bible, joy in the Bible in Proverbs 17, chapter 17, verse 22. Says, "A broken spirit dries up the bones, but a merry heart makes the body healthy." And that comes from the Lamsa Bible. And then we have this wonderful quote from Voltaire. It says, "The art of medicine consists of I'll get that right. The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease." The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. And Voltaire is a master of saying a lot with a little. You know, if your mind is distracted from your healing, or worse, if you're overly focused on the disease or the wound, you're kind of working against your own healing energies. You know, you're still using universal mind in the science of mind sense, but you're kind of using it in the wrong direction. You're using it for negative rather than positive outcomes. So amusement redirects your mind so that you're no longer focusing necessarily on the wound or the disease. And as I said, the data shows that your biochemistry actually changes, and it changes in a way that facilitates your healing. So I'll introduce my first affirmation of the day, and we shared these with you in our weekly email. So the first affirmation is, "Laughter reveals my wholeness." Laughter reveals my wholeness. Now, I'm not suggesting that you look away from all disease or discord and, so to speak, laugh it off, right? But in order for those wounds, that discord, that disease to be healed, it first has to be perceived in some way. It's almost impossible to heal a problem or solve a problem you don't know about. But once you face that problem, you've got a good shot at solving that problem, right? Now, if you cut yourself, you naturally sort of clean and bind the wound. If not, that minor wound will possibly grow into something much worse. And once you bind the wound, it's time to shift your thinking to healing, right? To allow the memory of that wound to dissipate, to stop rewinding the tape in your mind, and sooner than later, you might actually find some humor in it. Now, as I heal, I often laugh at my errors. And I probably at some point have done, but I don't do it self-critically, right? I'm not beating myself up over what mistakes I have made or choices I have made that may not be the best. But I do it in a way to allow some stinking thinking, some poor choices to be replaced with something that's more healthy and more productive, right? I'm intending to be more present and clear-minded, right? And I'm doing that in order to make better choices. So that real change, that real sustainable growth in consciousness comes by getting to the cause, really, and then those changes are made at the causal level. So here's another affirmation. It says, my body temple is a high vibration of health and well-being. I am whole. My body temple is a high vibration of health and well-being. I am whole. Now, what is true for you physically is also true for you metaphysically, for spiritually. You must first face those psychic wounds to the best of your ability at the time, right? So that they can metaphysically be cleaned and treated. Now, I must admit, I've had psychic wounds in my life that were overwhelming, right? And that meant that I had to face those wounds little by little, right? So it's just like if you have a more serious wound on your body, you have to change that dressing over and over again. You have to tend to that wound again and again. And that same thing applies to those psychic wounds that are so big at times they just seem like they're too big to tackle, right? And in so doing that, little by little, my thinking shifted, right? So a little bit each time there was some healing. And this is really that lesson of self-compassion that gives rise to true compassion for others. I have to be compassionate with myself so that I can truly be compassionate for others. Now, each cycle of tending to that psychic wound, the pain dissipates a little bit and the shifts in thinking come more easily. And those shifts in thinking are a little more profound and they sustain a little bit longer. And then with doing that, there's that increasing ability to begin to make light of it. So humor and fun and play is a form of metaphysical light. We've all heard that expression. And so letting that light shine in your life and letting that light shine on your thinking, that heals and grows your consciousness. So here I have another affirmation. Divine love lives at the center of my being. I shine. Divine love lives at the center of my being. I shine. Well, finding the humor, being more humorous, those are ways that you begin to learn more about your true essence. And your true essence is pure spirit. And as you learn about your true self, the soul that you are advancing, you see through all those false criticisms. You see through the self-doubt. You become aware of that false thinking of separation, of lack, of limitation, of scarcity and density. And you'll learn more about your inherent good, your godness, right? The more I know me at my essence, the more I feel God's presence that indwells and surrounds me. And in so doing, it is the more that I can know you at your essence. And it's the greater ability I have to circulate love and peace and compassion. And this is true for me as it's true for all beings everywhere. So what stresses you out, right? When I'm stressed out, it's really hard to feel any of that love for myself or others. And it could be a habit too. I mean, do I genuinely want to change my thinking, my beliefs, my habits, to minimize or to heal from stress. And again, I mean, I must admit, there have been times in my life where my primary experience was one of stress. And then even once I became aware of it, it took some effort just to recognize that pattern or habit in order to change it. And therefore, if I can change it, right, what is that process? How can I change those habits that I want to, those habits, those patterns, those beliefs that I want to heal? Well, part of it is my spiritual practices. So my meditation, my treatment or affirmation or affirmative prayer, doing some spiritual study or reading, journaling, visioning, being of sacred service, seeing my practitioner, my spiritual counselor, tithing, and joining in our beloved community like we're doing right now. And it is that process, those spiritual practices, little by little, one by one, that help shift that thinking, that help move out of those comparatively unhealthy patterns into more healthy patterns. It's being able to dig deep and discover those, what at one point may have been hidden beliefs, but I bring those beliefs to conscious awareness through my spiritual practices in order that they be examined. Some of those beliefs might be working really well for you, so you want to hang on to those, strengthen those. Some of those beliefs might need to be tweaked or modified a little bit, and some of those beliefs have served their purpose, and it's time to let them go and move on and adopt newer, better, bigger, better beliefs, right? It also means that I might have to change up my spiritual practice, because I can get into an unhealthy pattern that way too, where my spiritual practices are just becoming so rote and repetitive that they're not being all that effective. Now, every spiritual practice is effective, and I encourage you just to stick with it no matter what it is. But at times you might feel like, I can get more out of this, so I'm going to deliberately change up what I'm doing or how I'm doing maybe my meditation, or how I'm working with my affirmations, or it could be that I'm seeing my practitioner more frequently, or I'm giving myself over to a different kind of sacred service. And that brings the question to that joy, that laughter in your life. How often do you laugh? You know, what helps you to laugh? And sometimes that question comes out, well, what makes you laugh? And we've heard this question, how does that make you feel? Now, I just want to remind you that the science of mind and spirit distinguishes between feelings and emotions. And this is an important piece when we talk about this nature of joy, of fun, of lightness, of laughter in your life, and how critical it is to, just living that full, rich life. So feelings are an inward experience. They're inward sensations, and positive feelings we associate with God. I mean, that's a direct experience of living spirit. And those strong positive feelings, then you have a choice around, meaning it is up to you how you express those feelings. So feelings are a cause. They're also a direct expression, a direct experience of living spirit, of God within you. And it is the first answer to any prayer is one of feeling. So before you manifest whatever it is that is in your prayers, you're going to feel that manifestation inwardly first. And then you are naturally going to manifest and demonstrate, experience that feeling in greater amounts to greater degrees. And that's how the answer of the prayer continues on into this plane of expression, right? So feelings are causes, and they often manifest and demonstrate as emotions, which are the effects of feelings, right? So cause, feelings, effects, emotions. And oftentimes those emotions are something that someone else can objectively perceive. So you may feel love and choose to express that love as a hug. You may feel joy and choose to express that joy as laughter. You may feel peace and choose to express that peace as a calmness. And once you're clear about feelings, once you get good at this notion, this philosophy, this idea about feelings as causes and emotions as effects, no one can make you feel anything in that rubric, in that design, right? You can choose any feelings which are synonymous with God qualities, and those God qualities, that's who you are at your essence. That's who I am at my essence. So all of those God qualities are abundant, and they are abundant within you, and they are abundant surrounding you. It is a wellspring of positivity, of positive feelings that are living spirit within you and surrounding you. So you choose which feelings are most active or most resonant, or maybe even feelings that you aspire to acquire, right? To feel more of. And it's the expression of those feelings that you have choice around, right? And therefore, those choices around expressing the feelings are ones that are the most constructive and the most positive and the most creative and the most connective and the most circulative, right? So along with this kind of spiritual mastery, you become guided to make the best choices around your feelings. And sometimes that choice means, at least in that moment, not to outwardly express those as emotions. It means keeping that experience interior. You still get the full measure of the feelings of that moment. It's just that the continuation of that into an emotion, into an effect, you're making a different choice around. I mean, I've been in those situations where you've just got that perfect punchline, that zinger, but it may not be the most productive or constructive thing to say in the moment, right? And it's also, the line, one day you'll look back on this and laugh. That's one of those things that's usually not the best timing, right? So here are some of those qualities of God that I have referred to. And, in this theme, Spirit has created you and I, and all that is, with this overflowing capacity for love or balance or joy or freedom or creativity or uh, prosperity of plenty. It's created you filled to overflowing with that and so much more. Now, even though you have that within you, and that's right there, right? There might be a tendency to get caught up in the busyness of the world. And that might distract you from who you are as your divine self, right? It might distract you from love and peace and compassion. That busyness of the world, some might call that work, right? And there can be a busyness of the world that focuses on or amplifies your divine self, that increases your joy and your love and peace and compassion. And some might call that play, right? So one of the keys to this human phase of your soul's journey is to find ways to integrate work and play. One approach might be to metaphorically whistle while you work. Another might be that you're called to direct your life differently, to move your life in a different direction in a way that you feel makes your heart sing or makes your heart sing out louder, right? And the intention is that while creating an earth plane good, right, accomplishing something in the world, let's say, you're simultaneously creating a greater good. You're creating more good, more God. You create a circulation of or a connection to living spirit. So work as play is both secular and sacred activity. So it's important that integration, those together, at least through this human phase of our soul's journey, that creates a richer and a fuller expression and experience. And it also puts your life in the context of the greater life. So play or fun is healing to the mind and the soul and the body, and play and fun also fosters connection to others, and it fosters that flow of a universal compassionate presence. So humor really is a kind of medicine, and as I often say, the reason we're all gathered here today is that we're here to feel better, right? We come together and study metaphysics individually and collectively to feel better. And like all things that we think are important, at least I do this, I'm probably alone, that you tend to take it very seriously, right? And there's a lot of data that backs up that adding humor, adding fun to shine a light into your life that way, it really increases, it up levels your healing, and it accelerates your growth in consciousness. Ernest Holmes in his Declaration of Principles talked about a belief that the universal spirit, which is God, I'm quoting Ernest Holmes here, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God, and that you are surrounded by this creative mind, which receives the direct impress of your thought and acts upon it. So believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. Believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. So laughter and play and fun directly impress on your thoughts in ways that fantastically enhance healing and growth. So let's turn our attention inward right here and right now. So I just call to heart and mind the joyous, fun, uplifting, light-filled aspect of living spirit. I call to mind this presence that is a compassionate, caring, joyous love. I call to mind the love and light of living spirit as a connection, a circulation, an expression, an experience. All that is living spirit, is living God. And I know this presence to be everywhere and within. It surrounds and indwells all that is. And knowing that is so, then I am also surrounded and indwelled by this same presence. And what is true for me is true for you too. That we are all meditations in the mind of God. We are all expressions, experiences. We are extensions and emanations of this one mind, this one life, this living spirit. And therefore we are imbued with this living, loving presence. We are surrounded by this living, loving presence. So I speak my word knowing that you and I now set that firm intention just to consciously increase the fun, the play, the joy in our lives, however and wherever it comes up. And we make that intention with a mindfulness, with a compassion, so that that joy, that love, that peace, that laughter is not only uplifting my life, but it is uplifting the lives who my life touches. Right? I speak my word knowing that, in the words of Ernest Holmes, there is a laughter of God, laugh it. There is a song of the universe, sing it. There is a hymn of praise, praise it. There is a joy, a beauty. There is a deep, abiding peace, experience it. And with that, I know I bless the world as I am blessed, circulating God's good in ever better, greater ways. And I simply say thanks for this answered prayer. Thanks for this communion in spirit. And I just release my words into the law of mind and action, knowing as it is spoken, it is so. That God says yes to more life, to more love, to more laughter, to more compassion. And all of that is revealing, it's happening in your life and my life right now. It's happening right now. And together we say, and now it is. Well, thank you very much. You have a blessed week.